Welcome everyone to another episode of the Strive for Good Life podcast. My name's Nino Pinguer, and I'm here with Adrian Smude, who is a real estate investor with his company Lifestyle REI. I'm so grateful to have him here because we've got lots of fun things to talk about today. So welcome, Adrian.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to talk about business.
Yeah. Let's get into it. Let's talk about how you got into it initially, what those early influences were in your life.
I got into being a real estate investor, not the typical way. Essentially, I was a really bad tenant, and my friends and I, it wasn't all me, but I was to do with, we got eviction notices for parties, like spaghetti wrestling parties, mud wrestling parties, pudding wrestling parties, parking a motorcycle inside the house. You don't rent to 20-year-old Adrian and his friends. And I'm a problem solver at heart. So what happened is I said, well, why don't I just buy a house, move my friends in, and no one can kick us out? Well, then I learned what it's like to be the landlord and why we were not good tenants. But I did something really smart there, business-wise, is I divided my mortgage up amongst my friends. So I was living for free. At 20 years old, living for free and not in your parents' home is really cool. So then I did it a few more times. The second time didn't end very well, because I was losing a little bit every month. The bank said, don't worry, real estate goes straight up. You'll refinance in a few years. A few years was that top of the last market. The market was going down. I couldn't refinance. I had an adjustable rate mortgage, so I went from losing a little bit every month to a little bit more. I ended up giving the home up as a short sale, ding to my ego, ding to my credit, but most hurtful was ding to my integrity. Fast forward, I bought some more houses, but then I got into the mobile home space, a single unit mobile home with the land. So not the park and not the unit within the rented park. So I actually own the dirt and I own the home and I rent them out. So I'm a cash flow investor. That's what I love. That is my niche. That's what pays for my lifestyle, is the cash flow that comes from the mobile homes with the land. And then I did something also a little different than most real estate investors. I started treating it like a business. Most real estate investors treat it as they're a real estate investor. They're a one-man show. And I didn't want to be doing every piece of it. So I started studying business a little bit more and treating this as an actual business. And here I am tonight.
Yeah. Okay. So just to be really clear for anyone listening out there, you didn't put your friends on the mortgage with you. You just charged them, enough to cover the mortgage, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Good clarification there. I did not put them on the mortgage. And actually, I didn't even have a lease with them. I just said, move in, pay this amount. Luckily they were friends and they were honest and paid me.
Yeah. I love that. I think it's interesting. A lot of entrepreneurs, they end up, at least this is true with, some of the people in my life, they'll find something that they want and they'll figure out a way to pay for itself, essentially. And that's kind of what you did. And like my wife does that with all sorts of things, and it's amazing. Anytime she wants a new stroller, she'll figure out a way to flip one so she gets it for free, basically. It's awesome.
I love it.
So I love that mentality, and I love stories like that. And it's great advice for anyone out there, because it's doable with anything, even real estate. Let's talk about turning real estate into an actual business. So you started studying business. Did you have any experience in business before this, or was it just, let's figure it out. Let's learn some new skills?
Oh no, I had a lot of business influence in my life. Most of my family are entrepreneurs. My parents, I grew up right in the middle of a business. So they had 2.5 acres, a garden center. So they sold plants. The house was literally in the middle of it. Then they sold some statuary with it. Then it turned into wrought iron work with all of that. So, you woke up and you went outside to work. And so I grew up understanding it, seeing that we would go on a vacation, always business related, and cousins and other family members. So I already understood the beauty of being an entrepreneur. Once I started studying it, though, and reading books, I realized the difference in a small business and a more, I'll say, professional business. Some of the mindset differences. And I grew up in a wonderful family. I would have never changed any of it, but they did a lot of the small business mistakes. Now, at least to me, they were mistakes. They're not the lifestyle I want, where you're doing everything. And I decided I didn't want that. I wanted some things that I wouldn't be doing. I wouldn't be in charge of, because other people do it better than me.
Yeah. Would you say that's one of the biggest differentiators between a small business and real big business, is just, handing off the tasks to other people, or are there other things as well?
No, I definitely think that's one of the biggest differences, which comes with a mindset difference. Well, that's too expensive to pay that person that. Well, one of my friends, Laura, she said it's only expensive if you don't value it. Well, I value not doing a lot of things. I do work, quote unquote, work over 40 hours a week, but I wake up excited about that. Some people might say this is work. Talking to you, I'm like, no, this is exciting and fun for me. This isn't work. But so I pay or outsource someone that's better at task than I am. And that helps the business run more efficiently, which then if it brings in more money, then I can hand off even more tasks that I'm not good at, or someone's better at, that I just don't absolutely love. The unique genius zone is a term I've heard and I love. So my goal is everyone on my team has their role as their unique genius zone. So something that they enjoy doing. That's all the way from my VAs overseas to in-person local staff, that I want them doing what they love doing, so it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. I think a lot of people get hung up on, wanting, I guess, maybe the quality control, or, they're afraid that people won't be able to do it as well as them. So like, maybe talk to us about that piece of it. How do you manage that?
And I still struggle with that at times. I am literally just got over that right now. So I'm revamping my website. So Lifestyle-REI is my education brand. So I teach exactly what I do. And I had a limiting belief of that for a while, that, no one could recreate it the way I want. No one would keep my personality in it. Like, I'm a little quirky and different and loud and weird, if you see my stuff. And that's very important for me. That's in my personality. And I just didn't think anyone could do it, which now I think, well, that's silly. Well, I talked to enough people. I interviewed different people to help redo the website. And I learned that was just me trying to be a perfectionist, which is a silly thing. So I did hire someone, and actually she's working on it now. And I think she's going to make it even better, because my skill set is not editing a website. And it doesn't get done because I dread doing it. I like teaching and putting content on there, but actually getting in and making the changes, that's not for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the key really here is that you're getting back your time to be able to focus on other high value tasks that you actually enjoy doing, that actually move the business forward. And I've seen it so many times. Business owners get stuck working in the business, and then they can't work on the business, right? And you have to make that transition to, like you said, a bigger business owner mindset, I guess, however you want to phrase that.
And that's a really daunting, big task. It's a big elephant. Like, how do you eat it one little bite at a time? And we've had different times that the goal was to either eliminate, automate, or delegate one task a week. It could be as small as setting up a Gmail filter. So it filters out certain emails or unsubscribes from them. Could save 5 minutes a day. Well, that starts stacking up and just teaching us how to do that. For me, it was not a very intuitive thought process. Like, well, it's faster for me to just do it than set up this algorithm to do it, or outsource it, or teach someone else how to do it. And that's still not one of my strongest skill sets, to teach someone how to do something. I just know what I want done. So I use a lot of screen recording, and then give my team permission. Ask questions. I know I didn't give you everything. Just ask questions, because that's not my skill set. Please ask questions. I give them a lot of permission to just ask, to fill in the blanks. So a lot of times, especially VAs, I have found that they just want to do it and do it right. And the culture sometimes isn't to ask clarifying questions. And I need that for my skill set of not being able to give the perfect thing. So I'm learning with that still today.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love the idea that, you're shaving off a couple minutes or a couple seconds, but that it stacks over time, right? That's what people don't realize. So yes, it might be quicker to avoid setting it up, maybe today, but over time, I mean, you're losing time and money, right? So,
And mental bandwidth.
yeah,
And I use the email one because it sounds silly, but going through and deleting all these emails every day can be a mental bandwidth that it's just not necessary, or unsubscribing. So I'm a person that I like a zero inbox or no notifications. I don't get there all the time, but the people that have hundreds of notifications and tens of thousands of unread emails, they can't find stuff. And it's unorganized. Everything goes slower because of something so silly and simple. Get rid of the email and start a new one.
I love that. I love that. Another thing you said is that you record videos that you send to people. Do you use a tool like Loom, or how do you do that?
Yeah, Loom. We will use Zoom sometimes. I think Vimeo is another one. I didn't know the answer to that question at first, so I just asked my team. It's, as the business owner, especially a small business owner, I think a lot of times we feel like we have to know everything. And part of that is the ego. Guys are a little bit harder with the ego. Women are, I think, are easier to set it down and aside. So it's harder for sometimes us to just not know the answers and ask for help. And when I started doing that, my communication with my team has gotten better, and just the company culture of, I'm not perfect. I'm not expecting you to be perfect. I always want both of us to improve. And when we don't understand something, let's just ask for help. Everyone's always allowed to ask for help. I do have an office manager, and we'll say the VEs are to go to her, but they have permission and they still do it. Go straight to me sometimes, because that's the company culture I want.
I love that. Company culture is super important to think about as you're building. But just so it doesn't slip away quite yet, I love that you're talking about documenting your processes. I mean, that's so critical if you ever want to remove yourself from that position and hire someone else to do the tasks, right? So that's a great way to do it. Just record videos of what you're doing. Start documenting. That's how you're going to be able to scale eventually. So
I wish I would have done it sooner. I really do.
That's incredible advice. Super valuable for those listening. Let's talk about some of the challenges you faced, some of the bigger ones. I mean, it sounds like there are a few that we've kind of touched on, but what are the biggest ones as you've tried to grow your business, and how have you overcome those?
I think we touched on one of the biggest. It became an overwhelmed thing of, I'm the entrepreneur mindset. I think I grew up with it. So it's just like, all right, well, here's the plan. Let's just do it. And then it'd be, for the real estate world, the day before closing, oh man, I forgot to get insurance. And then, it's just not having an actual checklist, because I'm good at going and doing it. But usually I have found from my entrepreneur friends, like, a checklist thing is not our skill set of just sitting down and making sure, oh, was this done, this done, this done. We need that to make sure it all gets done. But our brain just thinks of it last second or 2 days late, and then you have no insurance for a few days. That's terrible. So having that checklist, and then getting the right people in the seat, that's their skill set. They enjoy checklists and making sure, holding me accountable. At some point, what is your cadence or your growth speed? I don't want to grow super fast, because that means I'm all in business and I don't have harmony with a personal life. I love the term harmony versus balance, because I feel like ebbs and flows more than, every day I spend X hours in business and X hours at home and X out, like, it's an ebbs and flows thing. So finding out what that harmony piece is for me. I am the person that I like to buy 4 to 6 a year. I know I have friends that do that a week. That's tiring to me. I don't want that many, Then of course you have to keep funding up for all of it. There's just so many pieces of it. And if you're moving at the 10x speed, you have to have a process. If not, you're just creating this massive avalanche that's going to come down and crush you at some point of all these things you didn't take care of. And the loose ends. So I like the balance of it. Everyone's going to have a different personality. Some people are going to say 46 a year, that's a lot. They want to do one big deal a year or one every few years. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. It's what's personal for the person.
Yeah, I love that. Just going back to this idea of having the right processes in place, the checklist, I think that's so critical. And not, running faster than you can, right? That's so interesting. It makes me think of that what's that line? That slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Haven't heard that in a while. Yeah, that's really true.
Absolutely true in business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, you don't want to create this massive mess of, I don't know, especially when there are, legal issues at stake, right? With real estate.
Yeah, that's where you get into legal nightmares, or a lot of people create businesses to get out of their W-2. Well, if you create a business to get out of a W-2 job, and then you are actually working more hours and your whole life is serving your business, why didn't you just stay in a W-2? That you actually had to find times that you get off. So something really important that I learned to do is create a business vision. I have a personal vision for my life, what I want it to look like in the future. I'm always working towards it. I get real close. I kind of rip it up and start a new one. So it's just a better life. Well, I have one for each of my businesses as well. What do I want this business to look like? So when I get a shiny object comes in, I can filter it. And I have friends that have my vision, so they can look at it and like, oh no, how is that related here? They call me out. I give them permission to call me out. And like, I either have to change it and have a good answer, or I have to submit and like, you're right. This is a shiny object. It's going to take me away from the goal of the business.
I love that. Okay. So you create these visions for your life and your businesses, and you actually share them with people. Is that done in a mastermind group, or how do you do
typically in a mastermind group? And today the lady that's rebuilding my website, she was interviewing me, getting through to make sure the personality. And I said, I don't think I shared my vision of what this business is. So it was a good document that I wrote up in a really good state, so not a high stress that everything's falling apart, a good state, really took time with it, and I tweak it here and there. And that's when things are going great of what I want the future to look like. I think that's the best time to write it up. And yeah, I'm a part of multiple masterminds. I run one, and I'm the one that probably annoys some of the members at times, always giving them my vision. And they're like, well, did you change anything? Yeah, I changed 3 words on it. I would rather them have it in front of them to glance down and call me out on something I'm talking about versus not have it. So it's just made such an impact in my life of having a roadmap of, or end goal of where I really want to go.
Yeah. I think that's interesting because a lot of entrepreneurs that have the mentality that if they share what they're doing with business or their plan for it, they're worried that some competitor is going to come in and copy their model or whatever it is. And so for some reason, we're not great at sharing the vision as well as we should.
Yeah.
I really like what you said about harmony versus just balance. So what have you done? What are the things that you've put in place to create harmony in your life?
That's something I'm getting better and better at. I've really gotten pretty decent at it, I think, in the last few years. One of my biggest is my phone and all my devices have do not disturb on permanently. We're going on 3 years now. And I use all of the screen time limiting apps that are devices that are usually made for the kids. Well, I use them on myself. And I know you're editing this, but we just got cut off. And that's actually why, because I didn't hit unlimited for the day. And it told me your time limit is up. And really? That has helped me. My phone's not going off all the time. When I turn it for it to be personal time, I don't get all these alerts. And also keeps me focused during my business time of I'm still not getting all these alerts. And I can be all in on whatever that is. If it's being with my wife, if it's right now talking to you, I don't have the buzzing going back and what is that phone call? I can be all in and present in that. So that's probably one of the biggest things that has really done it for me. I read my vision often. I'm a very big mindset person. So I'm a huge Hal Elrod fan with Miracle Morning.
Yeah.
So I do that every single morning. It's to get my intentions right for the day of what I really want it to be. Got my checklist highlighted exactly, the things I need to do. And as one of my coaches says, when things get off, go back to the basics. Well, everyone has different basics. For me, a lot of it's fitness. So I do my little workouts or maybe some push-ups right before getting on here with you so that I am pumped and bring energy and not, like, oh yeah, what are we going to talk about? I'm not like, that's just not who I want to be. Yeah. So I need to be very intentional.
Yeah, I love that. It's so important to bring the right energy to everything you do, right? How you show up in one thing is how you show up in everything. That's what they say. Let's talk about some of the, unexpected benefits that you found of being your own boss and, being an entrepreneur.
Well, I'll hopefully give a legal disclaimer. The tax benefits. So there can be huge tax benefits. You, of course, have to do it the right way. It's not that you just write off everything in your life, but I'll have to travel for business purpose, and maybe it's a town I like. Well, maybe I'll stay an extra day or two. So then I get some leisure time of it, and I didn't have to pay for the flight there. Again, you have to make sure that you're doing it all right, that what you can write off, what you can't. But that's a big benefit. And really creating it the way you want. That's what and goes back to that vision again.
Yeah.
For me, it's about bringing sunshine, joy, happiness, and inspiring others. That's throughout all my business and my personal life. So now I get to think about it. Well, is this going to do that for someone else? If the answer is no, let's actually say, we're just not going to do that. If I'm working for someone else, I don't really get that opportunity. I can say it. I may not have a job anymore, and then they may not listen, and then maybe they actually do listen. So you get to make those decisions, and mostly you can control your time. I do work sometimes at midnight. I like the scheduling that goes back to some of that harmony and tools. I don't want to give anyone permission to think that I'm available outside of the set hours, but I might write emails and hit schedule to a certain time. So I'm setting the precedence, but I can do that. So right now, my life in that harmony world and the benefits of it is my wife is a travel RN. We're in Maine right now as our home base. So she works overnights. So I basically have 3 days that I cram most of my business into. So today's a very straight-through day, and I planned it that way on purpose. So then when she's off and not sleeping and not working, we're free. I might have some, phone calls or something I have to take care of, but for the most part, it's open. And I get to choose to do that, not have someone tell me the hours that I have to work. So to me, that's a huge benefit. Being geographically free, that I can run my business from my phone, and getting to be where I want, when I want, with who I want. That's my purpose for the business, to serve my personal life, not me serving the business.
I love that. I mean, that's really what's drawn me to entrepreneurship, is the ability to design the life that you want. I mean, yes, it comes with extra responsibilities, and, you have to do things differently than what everyone else does. And that's a challenge for people, but it's absolutely possible. And I love that, that's what this show is all about, to be able to showcase how other people have done that. Let's talk about some of the unexpected negatives. I mean, that are inherent in being an entrepreneur.
That's pretty much what I just said. You're on call.
Yeah.
Especially in the growth phase. The growth phase, we don't have these processes set up. We usually don't even have a team. Because I think most people start out with very limited money and more maybe time than money, at least in the small business world. So you have to answer the phone. You have to do all of these things, the things you don't really enjoy, until you build up the business to the point that you can hand off items, or you get the mindset that they need to contact me on my time and not be like, I need a deal, I need to sell another product, I need to sell another product. So kind of creating that framework. it was a hustle at the beginning. And, I don't like to, I respect hustle, but don't like to promote it in, I'll say, the Grant Cardone way. I've learned stuff from him and I've taken a lot of good stuff, but the work, never eat alone, never do anything that's not in business. I don't subscribe to that mentality. And I think it's very easy to get sucked into that in the entrepreneur world and never, even if it's not on purpose, just never build out of it. We talked about working 50, 60, 90, 100 hours a week, and you replace the W-2 job with a job that you're doing everything in. I think it's easier to get into that cycle than it is to build a business. And once you're in it, I think it's difficult to get out of that cycle. So those are, like, to me, some of the negatives, potential negatives, and of the beginning phases of the grind, quote unquote, and the hustle, quote unquote, that we have to do, which I just want to encourage people to limit it, to not get out of balance, out of harmony with the personal life. So yeah.
Right. And that's tough because a lot of people, especially when they're first starting out, they've got the side hustle, right? They still have their main job. And so to get to a point where they can leave that, they got to cram in all those extra hours on weekends and nights. And so it's a challenge. Do you have any advice for people that are kind of in that stage and they're trying to make the transition?
Keep coming back to that vision thing.
Yeah, right.
I wish I sold vision work. It's,
maybe you should.
When you have a very strong vision or a why, it's all in the same world, that it's something that you just really want. Then it makes it easier to skip the bar with your buddies and go home and grind out or create something. I actually had a point where I didn't hang out that much because I was excited. I wanted the business more than having another drink at the bar. I think now I have a pretty decent ebbs and flows. I'm still figuring it out for my personal life, but I wake up excited about it. And if you have something there, and that's not every piece of my business, I don't want to come off of this fake thing, the Facebook where everything looks fake and perfect. There's items that I don't love doing, but if all I did is jumped on a podcast and talked about business and talked about, that would be cool. If I didn't do anything else, like, that would light me up. So having these in the day, I get up excited to do it. And then in between that, I do what I have to do. And it kind of helps pull me along. And look for small wins and get that momentum moving. Get the smallest win you can. On days that I am discouraged or it's been a little bit, I look for the smallest win possible that I can get and build on that momentum.
Yeah. So you've mentioned excitement a couple of times, and I think that's so much more important than passion. We're always talking about how you need to be passionate about what you're doing. Passion is kind of this elusive word for me. I'm not really sure what that fully means for me. But it's easy to feel excited and know when that's there. And to follow that has been really a game changer in my life. And it absolutely, gives you the energy to do the extra, to put in the extra hours and do the extra work. I love going off of that as kind of an indicator of when you're in the right thing. Yeah,
I love that. I never thought of it really. They differentiate a little bit, and it makes me think of, when you explain that, I'm excited about my business. Obviously, I get to make some money in it, and then give to some charities that I'm passionate about, but I'm not excited to go and start that whole charity and do all the whole work. So I think that's kind of differentiating a little bit, like what you're talking about, is I am passionate about it, but not enough to do the work that is behind the scenes on it. So I get to just hand them some money and still get to help my passion.
Yeah. So when you're excited to do the work, I mean, that's when you found gold, I think.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to be pursuing. Last time you talked about being big on massive imperfect action. What does that mean to you? And, how can we as our, the listeners of this, leverage that in our lives?
Well, so massive is big. Imperfect means we are planning to make mistakes, and that's going to sound scary to a lot of people. And then action is actually doing something. But when we do that, we are taking the action. And I say it so slow and it sounds so simple, but that's where we get stuck a lot. I'm no different. I do it here and there. I still get stuck. I'm like, man, how did I just get myself so stuck on this topic? Taking some action, moving a little, and then failing forward. John Maxwell has a great book, Failing Forward. And that is a skill set I have learned to acquire, is to take some action, fail forward, ask my coach, my guide for help. And as I've studied successful people, I've learned that's also a skill set I have, like Tony Robbins, find the commonalities of all these successful people. Everyone I have studied has taken action and failed over and over and over again. They all have tons of failures. And actually, most of them, they talk about their big failure, and that's how they even sell you into their stuff. So why then are we scared of failing? It's that ego, I think it comes back to. But all these super successful people have failed a lot. So not being scared to fail, taking that action, failing forward. The most important part is to fail forward. And then for me, it's ask for help, because if we are planning to fail, we need someone to ask for help. So that's where a mastermind group, a coach, wherever it is that you get your help, and is to get back up and do it again and know it's going to happen again. And every time I've done that, I've been more successful than just waiting around 6 months to find the perfect answer. And then sometimes it's already gone. Like, that whole project is irrelevant because we're in such a fast-paced moving world, and the mental bandwidth it takes up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's a really interesting point, because I think a lot of that fear comes from people thinking that they're betting the farm and that there's not going to be maybe any recovery. So if they try something and it works, they'll have to go back to their old job or whatever it is. But in reality, failure comes in little increments, right? And you can always pivot. And if you're pivoting, learning quickly and pivoting fast, then it doesn't have to be this devastating thing that completely destroys you. Right. And so that's what I think a lot of people are getting wrong about failure in general.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to word it. And then just go learn from it. I got caught for a long time and not going and want to review it, but now we review everything. What could we have done a little bit better? And failure now teaches me. I know I've had some of the best growth at painful failure. Like, the worse failure it is, the bigger my growth has been. So I slightly look forward to it. Obviously I still don't want it because it's painful at the time, but I know now I get huge growth if I utilize the failure the right way.
Right. I try and frame everything, and I don't know if we talked about this on our last call, try to frame everything as a data point. Everything is a test and a data point. And so you'll try something, you get feedback, and the more you try, the more feedback you get, the more data you collect, and the better decisions you can make moving forward. So
perfect. That's the light bulb. Was it he found 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb?
Right, Thomas
Edison. It's something like that as well. Yeah, I love that. I'm going to use that data point. I can find another data point.
Yeah, that's, at least that helps me. I don't know if it's useful to everyone else.
That's really what we're doing when we do that, and then we don't get bogged down with this negative thing.
Absolutely. And going back to what you said earlier, keeping the momentum going is such a key part of reaching success, right? So you can't let yourself get bogged down. You have to be able to keep rolling and keep moving forward. And so, the reframing absolutely helps with that. Let's talk about some of the biggest pieces that you recommend people hire out immediately. Because I think there are a few things that we mentioned last time that I think are really, really important. You said you hire out the bookkeeping and you have a fractional CFO. How has that changed your business as you've done that?
Well, I waited way too long for that. And I also, at one point, my wife was taking care of the bookkeeping. I have seen that work maybe 1% of the time. And it's a terrible idea. I don't recommend it to anyone. It's going to cause tension between the personal life, which is not good. And unless she or he is automatically a bookkeeper. And that's still not always the best idea. They don't know what they're doing really either. And then you're going to expect more than they can do. So hiring that out, yes, it costs me money, but I actually know my books. I know where I'm making money. So I'm like, oh, I'm making more than I expected. Oh, I didn't realize I wasn't making that much there. So you just get to, if you have a product, you understand what products are selling the most and which are more than selling the most, which are actually giving you more net income. And you can plan better for the future and tax purposes. So I love hiring that out. And then I got a good CPA. We tax plan. Then I decided to get a fractional CFO. That was a reason that I really want to turn this into a better functioning business. I don't plan to ever sell my business, but you did make that comment of that. I believe in building a business that you could sell, because that means it's ran really well, even though I don't plan to ever sell it. I got a lot of that mentality from the E-Myth, where he basically talks about, build your business as if it was a franchise, and then you're doing the pieces within it you really love. And so I keep that mentality there. It's been a little painful, I'll tell you, with the fractional CFO, but I'm happy I did it. And painful because he's asking me questions that I don't know the answers to, and he's forcing me to go do work that I don't want to do. But now we're getting the real answers, and then we're creating something so I don't have to deal with that painful part of it as much. So we're, instead of doing weekly reports for me, I just want a monthly. He's like, you're going to understand your business at a little bit lag. And I'm like, that's okay for me. Because for me, it's so painful to do some of the bookkeeping and stuff that I have to do. I'm not fully removed from it, but I do very little of it. And so it's just really knowing your numbers. It's not just looking at your bank account. Oh, okay, well, there's more money in it than there was last month, or there is money in it. I've had those times where there's not money in it. I'm going to write this check and not mail it out yet. It helps you plan forward a little bit more. Hiring that out. I would really say look at all the tasks you do and what are the lowest dollar item tasks. If you want to get really into it, you literally write down everything. Write social media post social media. I'm into social media posts. So you get that detailed on something. You don't just put social media or marketing. And then which of those can you hire out to someone? So posting, you can hire that out to a VA pretty easy. Commenting, that's not so easy because you have to prep a lot. So maybe you don't hire that piece out yet, and that's maybe that's going to bring in more traffic to you. So you want to keep that one. It's a higher dollar item. It's going to make you more money. So it's kind of figuring that out in every part of the business, and it couples with what do you not enjoy.
Yeah, I love that. Especially what you touched on with the numbers. It's so crucial to understand your costs, what your actual margins are, right? And you need someone that knows what they're doing with the bookkeeping. Absolutely. And then I love that you mentioned the CPA so that you're actually planning for taxes. I've seen businesses just absolutely get destroyed because tax season rolls around. They're not prepared for it. They're not set up. Their business isn't structured properly, and they get eaten alive. So those are huge pieces that everyone really needs to consider letting professionals handle. Because I think it's so easy as an entrepreneur to say, well, I can learn anything, I can do anything, I can, be everything in my business, and that's not true. And so we have to get honest about that. And especially with the finances, if you're not already an expert in that, you're essentially you're taking a huge risk by not just giving it to someone that knows what they're doing. So thank you for touching on that. Let's talk about, we've mentioned a lot. And a few times you've brought up certain books. You mentioned the Miracle Morning. You mentioned just now, there's another one.
Failing Forward.
Yeah, Failing Forward.
Maxwell.
Yeah, John Maxwell. So it sounds like you're an avid reader. Are there other books that you recommend people read?
Oh, yeah. So when people ask me what was my favorite books, the answer is almost the last book I read, because that's the book I needed the most at that point in my life. I was heavier into the business book, real estate or actual business as I was building it. Today, I'm honestly heavier in mindset. I think the business thing is relatively easy. Do this and you get this. It's kind of algorithmic. But what usually screws that up is our mindset. And I think if you have the right mindset, the business is much easier. So the miracle morning is the mindset piece. For a business, though, I want to say the traction. I don't remember the author on that. He has a few different EOS, or what the heck is EOS? He's got a few different books. It is built for a little bit larger business. I think it's like 5 employees plus, or maybe it's 10 plus. So we did have to alter it a little bit. So because I have multiple seats in the business, and but you just go into it. But I run a lot on out of that concept. Some other books, mindset wise, is anything by John Maxwell. I mean, he's got, I think, 80 some books. So I'm consistently kind of diving back into him. Nothing else is coming. The Go Giver series. Those are fantastic. The original one, I think it's just called The Go Giver, and it's a mindset book. But then they have a leadership version, they have a marriage version, and then they have an entrepreneur, I think, is the other version of it. They're all very similar, but it's such a good book of getting your right mindset, kind of the abundance mentality we alluded to earlier. Branding wise, building a story brand. I love that book. For that, actually, I tore apart my entire website after that. I was like, this is terrible. Like, I completely agree with this guy. My website says completely different. And I love following Alex Harmony. I think it's
Hormozy, yeah.
Hormozy, thank you. Yeah, I followed him for a long time, and I'm just now getting into his books, and they're fantastic. I'm re-listening to the chapters right away. The $100 million offer. A lot of these guys, you can just listen to their stuff. Ed Milet. I mean, everything that man says is gold. I'm big into Jay Shetty right now, which is relationship mindset. But relationship is the same. You and I, my wife, a future customer, a current customer, they're all relationships. They're a little bit different. But the base of the communication and relationship is the same with all of them. Yeah. So I'm very big into studying that. And that's a quick brain dump of some that came to mind.
Yeah, I love that. I almost glossed over what you're doing for marketing. And so I want to touch on that as well real quick, because I know we're kind of starting to press up on time. But tell me about your approach to marketing, because I love what you're doing, what I've seen on social media. So tell us about your approach to that.
Well, I am the person next door. That's my marketing. I'm not the big corporate structure, because it fit my personality. So I have learned I absolutely love marketing. I love branding myself. I never thought it was important. So my t-shirt, for the people actually watching, I wear a bright yellow t-shirt. Today I'm wearing Lifestyle REI, which is my education side. My buying brand is My Wife Buys Mobile Homes. It works because it's my personality. And I've done some split tests. I've studied some of it. Some people want the big corporate, and some people want the person next door. If I had the big corporate look, if I was in a suit and tie and everything right now, I would be a little uncomfortable. And that's okay. I need to fit to my personality. My people are going to want to do business with me, and other people are going to want to do business with the big corporation. And we need both. There's no right or wrong, as long as you're going with your personality and making it fun and exciting with it. So the people that think Adrian's too loud, too colorful, I don't like that, which are usually introverts, that's okay. Do one that fits your style, and your people are going to want to talk to you. And that's a lot of it. And if it's fun, you'll keep doing it. And we always have to be marketing. I mean, every marketing person we ever follow says that is the number one thing. You can't just have sales, because sales don't ever come in without the marketing. So almost every business is actually a marketing business, or they hire out the marketing if they're not good at it or don't want to. I love marketing. It's my fun personality. I go with 70% fun and 30% sales, and that's not exact. I don't do all the calculations. I just try to make sure there's more give and more fun in my world of my social media and any of my marketing, my blog and all that. And then a little bit, it's like, all right, well, hey, if you like this, here's something I have that you could pay for.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
I love that you phrased marketing as giving, because a lot of people don't make that connection that that is what you're doing, right? You're adding value to the world. And when people see the value that you're offering, right, that's what attracts them to you. And so I love that. And I love your colorful personality. I love that you just wear it on your shirts all the time. Everything that I've seen from you, you're wearing the shirts, those bright neon colors to draw attention. And I think it's awesome. I think more people need to be doing what you're doing.
What's the old Zig Ziglar quote? If you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. I hope I didn't butcher that.
Yeah.
But that's exactly, I'm a big Zig fan. Jim Rohn and all those older mindset guys. And Zig's really a sales guy. I thought he was only a mindset self-help guy. And then as I dug deeper into himself, he's actually a sales guy.
Yep.
But he's helping. It's exactly what you said.
Yeah, I love that. If you come from a place of wanting to add value to people's life, they'll reciprocate that. They'll want to give value back to you just naturally, right? So I love that. That's key. Where can people go to connect with you?
I'm on a lot of the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm a Facebook generation, so that's where I'm more active. But really the best place is to go to lifestyle-rei/SFGL. So that's a custom landing page for the podcast here. And on there, I have a PDF. It's free. You can put your email in. We'll email it to you. And it's on private money. So it's 7 people you already know that have private money, because in all business, we need funding. And I am a little more advantageous to people that are not banks. I like human beings. It feels better when I write that check. And there's all different reasons, but we can never have too much funding. So that could be a gap sometimes in business. So it's just a give there. And so you can find me there. And if I can help in any way, I'd love to help.
Thank you. Yeah. For anyone listening, we'll have that link in the show notes, so you can go there to check that out. Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the show, Adrian. It's been a pleasure. I know that I got a lot of value out of this call. I'm sure our listeners did as well. So if you're out there listening to this, please make sure to share this, and whatever platform you're on, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss another episode. Thank you so much for being on the show, Adrian, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
You're welcome. Have a good day.